Our next speaker is Liz Hillard from the Wildlands Network. Timber rattlesnakes, one of my favorites.
Right. Hey. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to present some initial findings from some current research where we're been monitoring some small underpasses with the hopes of helping timber rattlesnakes cross the road in western North Carolina and the southern Appalachian Mountains. And I'm working on this project with John Seeley from the Timber Rattlesnake Conservation Alliance. So Wildlands Network, hopefully some folks have gotten to meet some of our team. We're an organization of about 30, but we had 11 of our staff here. And I am in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm our senior wildlife biologist for the Appalachian region. Wildlands Network, we got started in the 1990s, and our founders wrote the book on large-scale landscape connectivity. And as you can see, we work throughout the continent, and we work with our teams. We're policy experts, we're wildlife scientists, we're project and program leaders. We all work together to connect and protect North America so wildlife and all of its diversity can thrive. So we are working on land protection. We're working on policy, both state and federal, to support wildlife connectivity, and that, of course, comes into play with crossings. I wanted to give a little, focus on the Appalachian region where I'm stationed. And, I don't tend to go up all the way up to the northern Appalachians. So far, the farthest I've gotten kind of West Virginia, Pennsylvania with projects. But the red color here being the highest imperiled biodiversity on this map here. So if we focus in the east, you can really see that that's all centered around the Appalachian Mountain region. That's because we have this rainfall topography creating all these microclimates, and also for the east with our large human populations and our established roadways and all the human development, this topography and the ruggedness of this area has mostly stayed intact. So it's kind of some of our only contiguous lands, but as you can see, the green color there is actually protected areas. So we have some limitations and a lot of fragmentation, a lot of imperiled biodiversity. And if we really think about climate change and how that's going to impact animals moving to ameliorate the effects of climate change, we know they're going to be moving northward, but also up in elevation. And so as you can see in the southern Appalachians, it's an absolute bottleneck from the mid-south and further south in the Appalachians up the chain. And so this has been a really big motivator, this project and movement map by the Nature Conservancy, to really convey how important the Appalachian region is and is going to be, and why the work we're behind, but the work needs to start now if we want to save our species for the future as they need to move, and we want to help them do that. And so we have a big, bold vision at Wildlands Network, and here I'm showing our ecological vision for the East. What we're really striving for and would love to see. And so, of course, that puts us at the intersection of road ecology and mitigating the impacts of roads. And so I joined Wildlands Network 6 years ago to really help work on this project on Interstate 40 outside of Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where we have the park and we have a lot of our public forest lands. And so with a elk background and focusing on bear and deer as well, that's a project I got to start on. That was about 6 years ago that we started. The project ended a few years ago as far as the research, but it is ongoing, as everyone knows. And as I've learned throughout my multiple ICOET experiences and being a part of this road ecology team. So I was thrilled at the end of this when just getting out in the community, talking about this project, talking about road ecology in the South, in the Southeast, while we are really moving that way and trying to catch up with y'all. A lot of folks don't know about those things. And so while talking about this, John Seeley, who is my partner on this and was has always done a lot of timber rattlesnake movement and work, let me know that in 2009, when they were putting in the infrastructure for a new North Carolina state park, that they actually put in some crossing structures for timber rattlesnakes. But nobody had followed up, and somebody said, hey, someone should monitor those. And so we were pretty excited to have this opportunity. We don't know about a lot of herp structures or anything like that. And so we wanted to go check these out. And so we were excited that there would be a potential structure for timber rattlesnakes out there that we could have find out if it worked or not, and try to move forward with some of these smaller species as we focused on some of our larger charismatics and these structures that maybe are more cost effective, and also focused on more species of concern. And so the timber rattlesnake, considered an imperiled species, and it's really a conservation priority. So this is due to habitat loss, fragmentation, the typical things, but road mortality is up there and constantly being documented as being, quite the driver of the localized populations struggling, and we're seeing declines in populations throughout. As you can see here, this is their distribution map created in a publication by my partner, John. And so both in the central US and the eastern US, they're really, key in on deciduous forest, contiguous deciduous forest, rocky outcrops and ledges. South-facing slopes are important for basking, forest edges for hunting. But these animals, because of, our development in the east, all of our roadways, they are considered extinct. They're extirpated in Maine and Vermont, endangered and threatened in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut, Indiana, and Minnesota. And then as special concern in West Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky. So for my Appalachian jurisdiction, especially in the Southeast, where I'm working, what a great focus to have here. And so the fact that we might have some crossing structures for timber rattlesnakes that we could implement was exciting. And so what's really, impacting these animals is just they're so tied to, site fidelity is really important for them. They are tied to their denning areas and basking areas, and then their hunting areas. And they return to those places every year. And those distances throughout those long seasonal movements can be anywhere from 2 to 5 miles. Daily, it's more like 100 meters to 200 meters. But yeah, so they do make these literally large movements. And when they come across the road, so this is direct mortality. Mortality for timber rattlesnakes when they're hit by vehicles. It is causing, it's impacting these populations now and causing these declines. They have the potential to be basking on the pavement, but also they move slowly. They're a cryptic species. They like to freeze or coil, and they are shy. So the slow movement, and then the same thing, being persecuted. These are a timber rattlesnake. And so often people trying to hit them, or pet trade collections and things like that. And so again, during seasonal migrations, that's when we're really seeing when these snakes are going from hibernacula to and out for mating season. It's those big times that we see a lot of mortality on the roadway. And the other thing that really, their ecology that really makes, mortality by roads, but also, these disturbances and barriers to being able to access these important sites for their survival, is that female timber rattlesnakes aren't reproductive until about 9 years, until they're 9 years old. And then the frequency of them having an offspring is every 2 to 3 years. So that's a slow process. And so you can imagine how impactful these road mortalities can be, and limitations to access to their important habitat areas. And so, yeah, sorry, I usually wouldn't show this, but I feel like this group can handle it. But yeah, so again, road mortality just being the most recent publications showing that, it's likely one of the largest factors besides fragmentation and loss of habitat really driving the issues we're seeing with the species throughout the East. And so, again, they told us that there were some timber rattlesnakes out here. And we had a general idea of where they were, but got together with Kevin Bischof, who's the superintendent for the state park, and our partners, and Ron there too. And we went and searching for these. We found 3 the first year. There ended up being 4, and I'll get to that. But so, yeah, hard to kind of find a picture to really capture this. My very talented wildlife technician that did a lot of the data entry for this also helped put together this sketch here. Pretty straightforward. I'd say the big thing to mention is that this is just a 2-lane road. State Park Road without, with, these are 3 foot by 3 foot culverts that are buried to be about, so they're about 1.5 meters in feet in height there. And yeah, just concrete. They have a concrete precast wall. You do kind of see, and you will see in some other photos, some of these kind of baffle structures on the end. That's really just was a interesting kind of slope stabilization. They don't run very far, maybe just like 20 feet. I think I got that. So yeah, one thing I will say too that was interesting, I might go back and, oh, there's some better photos here. But these structures, I just want to kind of talk about the slope. When we went and saw these at first, there's light going through them. They're quite short, so they seem possible. But there's no fencing. The slope up to the road is really shallow. So there's no real barrier from the road there. These didn't seem placed to me on the landscape in a really specific spot. There wasn't data saying where to put these. They were just placed along this roadway, I think from prior timber rattlesnake knowledge, but not all the way thought through. So my idea was I was not thinking that these structures would maybe be using anything, but be used by anything, but a really good opportunity to at least see. So in 2022, we started our first field season. So we are putting these cameras out and running them in the season where timber rattlesnakes are the most active, so June 1st to November 1st. And we're using Hyperfire Reconyx 2 cameras placed at the structure openings as close as we can. And we know we're going to miss a lot of stuff here. This was taking advantage of an opportunity, and we had cameras. We considered if we could maybe do some light beam cameras, but we didn't have the funds. This was a kind of taking advantage of a good opportunity project. So I'm going to be presenting today on our first 3 years of monitoring. We have one more coming up. And so we are using a 5-minute time lapse. We really want to be able to detect our herps here. And but also we have motion detection on there as well. We're every 2 weeks checking these cameras and maintaining them and grabbing SD cards. And so because we know we're going to have limitations, but want to do our best to try to figure out if wildlife are using these, but realize with the herps confirmed crossings and really getting an animal moving completely through with just cameras on the outside was limited. So we're doing wildlife detections, just number of those. It's raw information right now since the project's not completed, so it's not detection rates. We're just doing detections and then detections of use. And this is where those observations, we're really keying them out behaviorally and trying to be conservative. If that animal looks to be entering or inside that structure, but not turning around, really focusing on movement, that we could assume that, and we are assuming that they are using it based on where they are in the structure and how they're postured in the structure. And then we did do confirmed crossings. So much easier for the motion detection mammals that are moving through to get paired crossing, one catching it in and one catching it out. The chances of that happening, we knew with the herps were little bit. We did, take some time to look into that. And so with the motion detection, it's within a 5-minute window to have for instance, a bobcat move in the structure and move out. We give that a 5-minute window to call that actual crossing. And then with the motion detection, for instance, if we had a frog species moving in and then we saw it within a 15-minute span seeming to come out of the structure, we called that a confirmed crossing too. Might have to do a little tweaking of these things, but this was the best we could do for what would seem like a straightforward project. This data to get through and interpret is actually messier than you'd think, and there's a lot of it. So just a couple more views, and I was using this to kind of give a better view of the structures. They're in different parts of the landscape, but again, just this 2-lane road, state park road, that's not very much traveled. We did add fencing prior to this last field season, the 2024 field season. So this next season, we'll be able to see how this fencings are surrounding. Again, we're, kind of a low budget project. So again, just trying to use this as a model, seeing if this is working to maybe implement somewhere else. So we did want to incorporate some fencing, but again, budget constraints, but we did use 1/4 inch hardware cloth. It's about a 5 feet. We used rebar and studded T-posts, and this ended up being an absolute lot more work to get these T-posts into the ground, and our rebar stayed together for the most part, but yeah, a bit of maintenance, but interested to see the potential effects. And so to get to some information here, so to step back again, those 3 measurements, and then is in this corner over here is just the herpetofauna detections, and I'm going to go into more specifics, but just kind of wanted to pull back and just see some patterns. And so the blue is the first year, 2022, orange is 2023, gray 2024. And so just the amount of herpetofauna detections, use detections, and then we do have some confirmed crossings overall, and quite a few use detections. So pretty exciting. A lot of mammals as well, use detections and confirmed crossings there. Not going into it much on the diversity of use detections and crossings for the actual structures. Structure 1 through 4 have their paired cameras here on the bottom just to see the variation between structures. So all our animals are being detected at all of them and used, but there are differences where those 2 middle structures in our study area are really crossing more animals, and more animals are being detected at them. And so for the herpetofauna species detections at crossing structures, I just want to point out the amount of salamander species detections, which is around 2,000 each year. That's for all cameras full, but just an insane amount. Can't really identify these guys in the setup, and I'm about to show a bunch of raw photos to entertain you guys all once I get through this. But yeah, so again, a big focus, and what we're going to try to focus upon is get some funding for some of these light beam triggered cameras so we can see what's going on with these salamanders. But excited to have our target species, the timber rattlesnake, be crossing and using these structures, as well as copperheads, and this is through all the years. So I guess these are just detections, and this is for the 3 years of the study so far. So again, some diversity there with detections. I'd like to talk a little bit more of the use and crossing information. So yeah, so detections of use, again, being pretty conservative to label something as that animal is using that, but excited to see that, yeah, timber rattlesnakes, especially this 3rd year, so post-fencing, you can really see the effect of post-fencing here with the gray bars in detection of use, except with the unknown snakes. You might not be able to see that. So that's timber rattlesnakes, copperheads, black racer, black rat snake, a ribbon snake, an eastern box turtle, which is really exciting as well, also species of concern throughout the Southeast. And then we do have these confirmed crossings in multiple years, all 3 years for timber rattlesnakes, was exciting, and copperheads, and these unknown snakes as well. It's like these camera views and the snakes farther in, they're harder to identify, but again, just very excited to see a diversity of reptiles and amphibians using these crossings. And then moving to mammal species, a diversity of mammals using these as well. Don't mean to throw it off with just a bobcat on there, just kind of trying to segue into bobcats being in the here. Okay. And so really the main drivers of the use of these structures by mammals were armadillos, but a lot of use by cottontails and bobcats, as well as our commons, possums, raccoons, and we're really excited. Another important southeastern species that's a species of concern, the spotted skunk, also in there. So again, confirmed crossings. So we're seeing a diversity of wildlife with confirmed crossings at these 4 small structures.